Board scheduled for September 20th, 2023. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, the supervisor is unable to attend, so I'll entertain a motion for a temporary chair.
So moved.
Who's your nomination?
I think it would be Michael Shostak.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? No. Okay, thank you. We'll begin with the attendance.
So noted.
Okay. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Anyone can address the board for 3 minutes. Come up to the podium, please.
Hey, Patty, can you help with the time, just in case we don't have a... Thank you.
State your name and address if you would.
William Pollock, and that's my wife Karen, and we live at 2022 West Spinning Wheel, which is up there on the wall. Our house backs up to the memory care facility that's being constructed at 2101. And we've got a number of questions. I think we're at the right place for the design review. First question is, the wall height was supposed to be 6 feet. Is it still going to be 6 feet?
You know, and we'll respond to your questions later.
Okay. And the second one is, will the dumpster be inside as was originally proposed and planned? Next, there's a generator that is being installed, or I think there's going to be installed, and between our house and the one next door at 2040. And I want to know if that generator is still planned. And then the next three all relate to the landscaping. The road, the fire road that goes around it, doesn't appear to have enough space to plant the 3 rows of trees that were supposed to be put in. And we look out our kitchen window at pardon?
And the dining room.
And the bedroom windows, right at what is the fire road and the asphalt of the fire road, so it's not well designed or landscaped at all. And can the fire road be that close to a property line? It seems it borders right along the edge of the property. And I know that's the purpose of a fire road, but how close can it be? And those are all the questions I've got. I did ask one more. And then is that the building dimensions correct? Meaning, is it as deep as it's supposed to be? It looks deeper. It looks like there's not much room between the front of the building and the fire road that goes along. So I just want to know if the dimensions on the building were correct as it is being built. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it'll take me a minute to get back, sorry.
Take your time.
Yep. We'll address those during the presentation.
I want to thank them for filling the trench finally.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. That is the approval of the minutes from the September 6, 2023 meeting. They were included in the packet.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by the clerk and support by trustee Barnett. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those are approved. We'll move on to new items, and the first new item is a site plan and landscape plan for 2101 Updike Road, the assisted memory care.
Hi, I'm Andrea Bibby with the Planning Division. Well, it's a little loud today. So just to remind everybody, to give a little bit of brief history. on this project. Back in June of 2019, the Township Board approved the, at that time, it was referred to as in the present memory care at 2101 Updike Road. And just to kind of maybe go over quickly some of Mr. Pollock's comments, as I know that I can answer those as it directly relates to the original approval that would still be required, which is that the requirement at that time at the June 24th Township Board meeting, a condition of approval was that the wall, the easterly wall must be a minimum of 5 feet tall at all points of the wall. So that was the number that was determined and enforced at that time. The applicant who is here in the audience here can certainly speak to that, as he is well aware and understands that that absolutely is a requirement and that absolutely will have to occur. I know that I've had that conversation personally with them, so I can attest to that. I can also attest to the fact that there will not be trash outside. As I remember thinking back to 2019, that was an area of concern by the adjacent residents, and there was an attempt at the applicant at that time to kind of modify that request, and that was denied. So I will reiterate that, in fact, the trash storage will need to be remained inside as it was. And then in terms of the generator, I'm actually going to review that, and I'm actually going to review the landscape plan. And then in terms of the building dimensions, I'm sure that the applicant could speak to that as well. So moving forward to present day, once the contractor who took over the job, is my understanding, about 1.5 years ago, as they went out in the field and started to do some work, there were some minor changes to the original site plan approval. Nothing that would be substantial enough to have to bring it back to the Township Board. But when we do have instances like this where we have an approved site plan and they do require some modifications, we do bring it back to the Design Review Board for your consideration. So that's exactly what we have here now. Up on your screen, you can see what was previously a vacant lot, which is no longer vacant. This is 2101 Updike, and you can see that, yes, the residents here in the audience, you can see their house there is up on the screen at 2022, as they had stated. And the request before you today has to do with some modifications to the site. One of the modifications includes the relocation. Originally, the air conditioning units were located in the interior courtyard. The property owner and the applicant is now seeking to add the AC units that would be the easterly and westerly elevation. The AC units that are located on the westerly elevations, which would be towards Updike Road, as you can see written up on there on the screen, they will be screened and is shown on the landscape plan. They will be screened from view from the public according to our township ordinance requirements. I do have to note that anytime we have AC units or ground-mounted mechanicals located in the front yard, that does require a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So the applicant will have to get approval for those units that are being located in the frontage. Secondly, the applicant is seeking to locate AC units on the easterly elevation of the building, which is, yes, directly adjacent to that fire road. The applicant, due to the space limitations, they are unable to add evergreen plantings there. What they are intending on using is a batten board material to screen the mechanicals at the time of planting. There was a concern on behalf of our landscape architect as well as theirs that there really was not enough room to install that evergreen planting. So the request as it stands today is to install those with a batten board material to match the colors of the building. I also want to note that in addition to that, those would not have to go to the zoning board as they are not in the front yard. The other request, which is probably this is probably the request that deviates the most from the original approval, which is now the applicant is seeking, and you can see it highlighted and blown up on the right side of your screen. You can see the yellow on the left indicates those ground-mounted mechanicals closer to the building, and you can see on the opposite side of the fire road, which would be closer to the easterly lot line, is the request to install a generator and a transformer. This also would require Zoning Board of Appeals, as now we have ground-mounted mechanicals not immediately adjacent to a building. So now we've got 2 variances that would be required for this request. And we have worked diligently, I would say, with the applicant to have them provide us with landscape screening, as well as ensuring that they are enclosed into what they have already installed, which is a masonry wall. And then also they will be installing black slatted gates. I actually have a graphic image of what the slatted gates would look like. This is just for purposes of, they'd be aluminum, just for the purpose of your consideration. That's not black, they would be black. So it would be enclosed in the enclosure. I'll show you a graphic of it, you have it in your packet. It's actually slightly tucked into the side of the grade. So they are asking to locate that equipment there. As well as they have been asked and have identified on their landscape plan that they will be installing some evergreen plantings around between that enclosure and the property line to the east. That is shown on the site plan. So, and then lastly, the last request is for a 4-foot-high aluminum fence, which is located in the courtyard area towards the front of the building where you see the roundabout drop-off area. They are proposing a 4-foot fence just to enclose that little outdoor area, which would allow for the residents to be able to go outside and be in a enclosed area. And the materials that are being proposed for that fence is just your typical black aluminum fencing, which would require would meet the standards of our ordinance because it is only 4 feet high and it's not in a front yard. So this on the screen right here represents which is another modification, is a change to the previously approved landscape plan. I'm going to definitely have the applicant who is here speak a little bit more to why certain species had to be selected over others, but this revised landscape plan has been reviewed by our landscape architect, Michael J. Duell, and he does find it satisfactory and does meet the intent as the original approval. It's my understanding that they had to switch out some certain evergreen trees for spruces. So it's a change in species, but in terms of number and location, and as the question was asked earlier by Mr. Pollock regarding the screening, you can see that there is still a proposal to install that staggered evergreen planting along that easterly lot line. So that is still will need to be installed.
But that's not what's there. That's not what.
We need to let her finish her presentation, and then thank you.
Okay. So those are the requests that you have before you this evening, or not this evening, I'm sorry, this afternoon. And then lastly, there is a slight modification on the facade of the building. This is actually, it was originally approved we're looking specifically at that peaked area in the bricked-in area. It was previously approved in 2019 to be actually EFS, which is not generally the most preferred material in the township. So the applicant is actually coming back now and asking to do more of a siding with a little bit more of a decorative element to it, if you will. And it's he has a materials board. You can actually see the coloring of it. So the renderings themselves are actually very similar. It's just a matter of the material changing within the peaks of the building. The building itself will continue to be the brick, the same color. It's just their only request is to change those peaks, if you will, around the building to not have the EFS, but instead to install this plank side, it's an aluminum siding, vinyl siding, is it vinyl?
It's a smart
Okay.
siding, it's pre-finished.
I'll have Ray speak to that when he has an opportunity to come up here. So, and then on here, you can see the location to the left would be where those ground-mounted mechanicals are proposed, which would have to be screened, as I stated earlier, by the batten board material to match the building. As well as to the right, you can see that there is the recessed area, if you will, where this is the area in which they are choosing to locate the generator and transformer. So if you're looking on the slope behind that generator and transformer, they do intend on incorporating, it appears to be about 3 evergreen plantings directly behind that pad. And then also, as a reminder too, this is where that wall would have to be 5 feet throughout the continuation of that property line. With that, I am more than happy to answer any questions. This is also a view from the location of those ground-mounted mechanical area, kind of looking up to the existing wall. And here you can see that there's some openings, if you will, of areas that need to have some additional screening. In regards to what is currently out there, this project is still open. It's still under permit. In order for them to finalize out this permit, when they are done with the project, the landscape plan, everything would have to be completed. Not only does the landscape plan have to be completed as submitted, we also will have our landscape architect go out there and field verify that their as-built landscape plan is accurate and meets what the approval is. So we are still going through this permitting process, but none of the project cannot be finalized out until all of these items are addressed accordingly. So I just want to make that clear if that was a question. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And I know that we have Ray here as well. He's the general contractor. That could answer any questions.
I certainly have a question, maybe for the,
I'm sorry to quickly interrupt.
Yeah.
You press the bright line button there, so the white pad, top button. There we go, that helps, thank you.
maybe
Help me
for-
read.
for the contractor. I do have some concerns as far as the ground-mounted mechanicals being moved so close to the residential area, and certainly that was not what was approved at the Board of Trustees meeting in 2019, as I was sitting there, and I certainly recall this was a very detailed presentation that went on for a long time, and there was a lot of detail, a lot of discussion as far as making sure that it was harmonious to the surrounding neighborhood, and I feel like there's been some diversions from that, and it concerns me significantly.
I agree. I wasn't at that meeting, actually, but seeing it now for the first time, I absolutely echo that concern.
Yeah, I remember being somewhat controversial, but was there a generator and transformer in the original approval?
Only a generator, or only a transformer.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Ray Whitman with BCG Construction, the production manager for this site. And there was no generator on the original thing. In all these buildings, we have to have a generator. Where this generator is, and then the transformer just to the right of it, that's where the power line came in, and that's where DTE asked if we could keep that in line for their transformer, which doesn't make any noise. And we will definitely cover everything up very well. And like you said, add a foot or more. Actually, some areas it's over 2 feet to the fence to do it. And then
Is it a standby generator?
yes. And it will make the decibel points. And the neighbor, John, your neighbor, he's been very good to work with also. I'd never met you guys, I'm sorry.
Well, no, because.
Well, we can't.
Between John and us, we're the two houses most impacted, and John was doing it and coming back to us. He wasn't there either.
Yep. So, and then when it comes to like the trees and everything, we told John, if he wants a couple more trees in his yard, we will put that in there to block anything. We're not here to upset anybody. We're here to work whatever way you guys need us to go through and do.
And I'm sure you will, as far as the landscaping, making
Yes.
sure the neighbors are satisfied, which is pretty standard of what the township requires.
Correct.
In situations like this. But again, I'm sure there are alternative placements for the ground-mounted mechanicals. It may cost more money, but I just cannot support this the way it's presented. I'll tell you
The
that right
reason
now.
being is that we have to be 20 feet from any window.
I understand.
Yep. And there's not really any spot. That's right there. And I think it says in there that we have to be 16 feet to meet ordinance from the property line, and we're only like 13 feet, or I don't know. We're just a little shy of making that ordinance. And then we also, the startup time, the once a week that it comes, we told like John that when his startup is, we would put ours at that same time, which would be no problem. And then this is completely hidden from everybody.
How large is the generator? How many
It's-
kilowatts?
What's that?
How many kilowatts?
It's 100. It's 100, yes.
Good. That's a good size.
Yep, and it's 70 decibels.
Okay.
So it's gonna meet the requirements. And it is completely hidden. You cannot see it from anywhere else. Only from that road, the roadway there.
So I'm clear, was the answer no, there's no other possible place to put this? I heard maybe it's just difficult. I didn't
It is
hear no.
very, very difficult. I don't think well, I'd have to really look it over, but it would be right next to any window. I mean, you can see the site.
Well, you have windows that don't open there, correct?
Right, it's windows, well, those would be right, actually, like one of them would be right across from where that's at.
Is that a state of Michigan requirement for the generator?
Yes,
Building code.
Building code?
As far as not near a window?
No, I meant just in terms of having a
yeah,
generator.
yes.
Oh, no, building code that the windows can't open.
Right, but I'm talking
Yeah.
about, like, he said they needed a generator, there wasn't a generator on the original plan. So did the state law change that would require them as a,
Referring to the land use of it being a
Memory care?
memory care facility?
And there's a reference to a requirement that it's not near a window?
I'm Todd Berger, I'm the general contractor. So the generator requirement itself, it's a life safety requirement.
Sure.
Facility, this is a healthcare facility, it's considered a healthcare facility, it's a home for the aged. It's a shelter in place due to the nature of it. So the critical, basically, infrastructure of that has to be powered at all times. In fact, that generator has to come on within 10 seconds of losing power and power everything up. I mean, it's a requirement for the use. Somehow it was missed on the original site plan. Like Ray said, it's a code I think it's code and I think it's building code and life safety. It's definitely life safety, is the distance from windows, from any opening, from that. It's an exhaust issue, is the big part of that. There is not space between that fire road and the building to fit it. It won't physically fit. Because that was our first, when we went to the engineer and said, hey, where can we locate this? There's not physically, we didn't have the width to put it in there. So then had to go outside of that. The engineer's recommendation was somewhere shielded where it wasn't seen. So which is why that, and was why where DTE wanted power brought in. So again, where the power comes in, if that stops and drops out, that generator picks it up from there and supplies it to the building. So that's how that location was chosen on that pre-construction, and it has been, shown on all those updated plans since, but obviously-
Just not on the site plan. It's on all the electrical.
It's on the building plans.
It's on building and electrical, just not on the site.
That's a pretty big omission.
Yeah.
I mean, it changes a lot in my mind. I mean, it wasn't there before, but it changes a lot. I mean, you couldn't have been licensed to operate based on what you proposed before and was approved by the board. And now you're in a tough pickle. We're not in a pickle. I mean, you are.
So, yeah, we're not.
I mean-
We're not disagreeing with you.
was there a change in ownership of this project?
Sir.
Yes.
Okay.
That all prior to our involvement, so the 2019, I believe, was a different owner.
Different owner, different construction?
Different everything, yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't think there's any dispute or disagreement that a generator is necessary with this type of facility. That's not the issue. For me, it's the placement, and I'm very concerned about where it's being placed, despite what DTE may say it's closer to their power or whatever. I mean, I think it needs, I would like to see a second look at it, I mean, on your part, to see if there are any alternatives that, as far as where you can place the mechanicals.
May I ask what the concerns would be, where the placement where it's at right now?
It's too close to residential. I guarantee you right now, if this had been presented to the board back in 2019, it would not have been approved. I don't think anybody on the board would have approved it because it's just on top of a residential area, and it's it's not harmonious with the residential area to have it that close, let alone the size of the generator. Not to dispute that you need it that large, but it certainly shouldn't be that close to the houses. And it really, if this had been presented originally, not that you were involved,
Right.
we would, again, not approved it and would have required and suggested that they redesign the building so that it would fit in such a way that it would not impose on the residential area.
And I could add, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a generator that isn't placed next to the building. I mean,
Yeah.
That you never what, excuse me?
I've never seen a generator that's placed at the property line versus next to the building. I mean, anywhere, it's super close, and not only is it super close, it's just being next to the property line itself is my number one concern, because they should be next to the building and designed in such a way that they could have been with regard to the windows. And then on top of that, it's just like right on top of the property line. And, I mean, I'd rather see it out front. The front's not great either, but at least aren't residents out front. And maybe it only goes off once a week to.
You mean on the updike side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes off once a week to make sure it's operating, but, I mean, I don't know how often the power goes out at your house, but it goes out of my house a lot, and I can hear generators for days and days.
Oh, well, we'd be one of
that's
the
okay.
quietest ones in the neighborhood, because everybody pulls them out and they're very loud, and we've been there.
Yeah,
when it
those
went
kind
out.
too, yeah, those are
it's-
really loud.
Yep, they've
Yeah,
asked, can we plug into your generator?
So there is, on that property line though, there is that brick wall that's shielding it from view. Cannot be viewed by the adjacent property owners. Because that is on the, I guess, east side of where that generator would sit is a brick wall that's higher than what the generator sits. So it's not, it's not in view.
The brick wall is higher?
Please.
That brick wall, it will be.
As of, actually, right now,
Not
as.
now, the
You
existing
have to
wall.
speak to the board, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Please.
A-
Yeah,
As of
thank
right
you.
now, the generator, even if we did not add to the top of the wall, is not.
Yeah, but I don't think the visibility is the issue. I think it's the noise that we're thinking about, right?
That, and I don't like the slippery slope argument, but
I agree.
Yep.
but it's a slippery slope problem too. I mean, I would look at each case separately, so I'm not a slippery slope argument type of fan, but in this case, I have to throw that out there as well. I mean, we say yes to this without looking at every single other option. I may personally, if coming back again, I may say yes. I don't know, but I'm not convinced that we've looked at every other option first, and that's what I'd want to see before saying yes. It may cost more to go out front, but on Adams Road, because nowhere is great at this position where you're currently at, but I'd rather see it on Adams Road versus next to the residential.
Updike?
Or Updike Road
Yeah.
instead of the residential.
There are mechanicals that are on the west side of the building, right?
Oh,
Oh, just AC units, yes.
Okay, and those are ground mounted, they're not rooftops?
Correct.
How much of this building is constructed?
It's
95%.
90%, it's just about done.
We've been trying to get to this meeting since, I think, January. So it's been a process, like Andrea said, they've been working closely together on that.
Trying to get everything.
And we wanted to make sure that we
where-
were addressing all the changes
Yeah, 'cause there's
comprehensively.
we haven't even talked about the other ones yet.
And I do believe that the neighbor sent a letter, the
We have a copy
immediately
of it.
adjacent neighbor to that generator, saying that he is okay with that as the neighboring property owner, with that design for the generator. If that plays at all.
Oh,
Yeah, although he wants
Good
a
fact.
6-feet wall, and he wants 5 trees in his yard,
On the other side of the wall, yeah.
specified by the place on my side of the brick wall.
And so right now, by the way, the brick wall the vegetation is on which side of the brick wall?
On our property side of the,
Oh,
It's actually interesting in this
Not a fan of that either.
instance, the location of the wall does not represent the easterly-most lot line. There's actually, the lot line actually extends a little further east. I forget by how many feet.
Approximately 2 to 3 feet,
to
depending on
3
where it's
feet.
at on the property line.
So if you look at the survey, it's interesting because generally the wall represents the lot line. So he's got the wall, and then there's another 2 or 3 feet before you meet Mr. Dehart's property. I'm just putting that out there because it's just a little bit different, but
Right.
I guess it's neither here nor there.
And it's where they have all the power and the cable TV, everybody has that routed right through there.
It's an existing wall. So there's an existing wall that we're adding height to.
Okay.
And we have not added to it yet because there's been some confusion on where are we measuring this height from.
Because at some points,
Some points
right
we'd have
now,
like a 12-foot wall, and
Oh.
right
people
now,
don't want that either.
from the blacktop to the top highest point is 8 feet right now.
Okay, it's built on top of a mound in some places.
Yes,
Okay.
it goes up here. So we set down inside, if you see the pictures, we set down inside and everybody's up, except for when we get down to their property line, then it's more level. Actually, they might be a little bit lower. So that would show, down at the far end, you can see how high it is above there.
well, that wooden fence
That's
is.
They want us to remove the wooden fence and we told them we would.
Whose wooden fence is that?
It's just
It's not yours.
existing.
I see. What was there before, by the way?
Montessori school.
Oh.
Montessori school.
Okay. Do they have a generator?
I don't
Air conditioning
recall.
units? I mean,
It was just a small little thing.
Ah.
It wasn't that big.
because this is a big footprint on a little piece of property. That's another reason why we're kind of in a tough spot.
Do you want to address some of the other elements so that they can get a full response?
Would you like to show them the revised material? I can have them show you the revised material for peaks.
When you see the
I
peaks,
don't
what do you
really
mean?
have a question about the revised material
Okay.
myself, but
What do you mean the peaks?
I'm not an architect.
Right there, the gable end.
The
Gable end.
gable.
You know, why was it changed?
It was originally
Ethos.
ethos,
what is that?
like stucco,
Oh, okay.
which actually is not, I don't believe, allowed in your ordinance.
So it's not,
And so,
not preferred.
yeah.
True
Third.
stucco, it's a stucco, very thin cover with the backing of styrofoam. So it doesn't have a lot of resistance. It's gotten better over the years. But if it is, usually it is on a second, third, fourth story. So because it's not always the greatest if you have impact. So oftentimes we don't want to see ephes on the first floor.
Mhm.
And so they're looking to go from an ephes material to a siding material that will be probably more in keeping with what's.
And it's still gonna be
It
perfect.
will match the neighborhood. Everybody's brick and a lap
Render.
siding with the aluminum.
Oh, great.
It's just this area in here. The brick is remaining, right?
The-
No, not in the new rendering, it is not.
not- Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a, if I send that to you, can we pull that up?
Sure. Mhm.
If you want.
The fence, I want to cover the fence. It's,
The fence is located, it's gonna be in the front in this kind of courtyard area.
can you point it with the laser pointer?
Sure. And they're actually gonna add some landscaping, as you can see around here.
This
It
one's
would
a
be,
little bit closer.
it would be to create an outdoor kind of courtyard area. So the fence itself extends from this this is the main entrance. The fence itself will extend down here towards the parking lot, cut across here on a slant, and then also then along the southerly elevation here, and you can see there's evergreen plantings on the outside of the fence.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, the patients would use that, or residents would use that. It
Correct.
secures them and, it makes
It's gonna be
sense.
the black
The black aluminum,
that you had showed earlier.
4-foot fence.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
actually, I think you got a pic,
Aren't those internal courtyards?
Yes, there are.
Where there are internal courtyards, this would
Yes,
be extra.
these are internal courtyards, and then they want to build a fence here to have another one.
Right.
It would, there'd be a run here, a run across here, and then a run here. So there really would not be any visibility to the general public, as it would be screened from the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, it makes that area usable anyway for visitors and residents alike. Because
it
of the
just gives them
additional
another
security.
bigger spot when it's like grandchildren come over and stuff. It gives them a little bigger area to play in the grass and stuff.
Yep. Personally, I don't have any concern about that.
Do you have a hard copy of it? Oh, perfect. I'll put it right here. Yep. So here is the revised,
It's close. It's not exactly, but it's very close.
Give 'em-
So that is the revised elevation.
Oh, yeah.
Very close to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we're bricked all the way up these.
Oh, yeah, so it's changed too. So yeah, there's less brick, definitely less brick.
Well, that, but these are
The
actually.
columns go all the way
those-
up brick.
yes.
That's part of your packet.
Gotcha.
And actually you got a picture of the
Yep,
columns going all the
yep,
way up.
Yep.
So so I'm thinking about the generator and thinking about another location, which makes me wonder about the parking spots. Is there any extra? Is like just barely enough?
My recollection is they were just on,
Oh,
they just met the requirement.
That would be my recollection as well.
oh, it's not like they could really, use one of these spots for the generator.
I mean, there's
If we got a
always,
variance, true.
on these buildings, so we build a lot of assisted living, there's always more parking than's used. I mean,
Sure.
especially, I mean, this is memory care, right? So typically we have facilities that are assisted with a small memory care. This is all memory care and then like worse memory care, like really lockdown area.
Yep.
Um,
I visit,
so-
I visit such a facility often.
Yeah, so there, I mean, not a whole lot of driving. It's, the only time you ever, sadly, the only time you see a full parking lot is holidays and Mother's Day. Otherwise, there's, way more than gets used by residents. Once in a while, we'll have a resident with a car, but it's not a
I guess I'd rather go entertain a variance on that subject versus variance on the side. But,
So, just so I'm clear, the things that we're asking for changes that are to consider are the generator, the fence in front, the AC units, and the change of the material on the front of the gable.
Right, and there is one other was, where the dumpster enclosure is, you can't really see it there, is they had it as a gate in front of that wall. We would rather see that as a garage door. It's on the thing there, but it's an overhead door.
It's a very visible location.
Yes, and
Like
this is why this is on here, because it shows it will be black also.
It's interior to the building.
It's interior to the
Can you
building.
point out where that is, please?
Sure can. So it's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's inside the building here. And then it was just a concern for safety, because there's the doors right here, is that when they, at nighttime, they can close it down and then that safety is all sealed up. But it will be an overhead door, all black. I mean, the windows are black, all the doors are black. And I think it's a 9-by-8 garage door.
So is that a change also?
Yes, that is a change.
Okay,
It just looks nicer than seeing a dumpster.
okay, so,
Than seeing a dumpster in the
Oh.
front, yes.
right.
all right, so I just want to make sure I understand. So you've got the generator, fence, the
Facade
Correct.
changes,
The
material facade changes.
facade changes,
A revised landscape plan, which has been provided and reviewed by our landscape architect to switch out some species. And then,
We have pictures of this.
and the garage door for the trash room.
correct,
And then the AC units.
correct.
And the fence.
Interior fence.
And this is
The
big-
interior fence,
And this is the biggest
one for
thing
the
on
courtyard.
So you have the white pine
Mhm.
and then the Australian pine. They're very, very similar to each other. It's just the landscape space that works better well. The white pine, that's how it's trees on here.
Okay.
That's why they went with that.
It appears from our brief review that there are some additional parking spaces, so that could very well be taken into account in looking at in their analysis and their review of alternate locations for the generator, but it appears that there is some additional.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good news.
That's good.
Yeah,
Whether or not that plays a part of their, final submission to you, but.
Could they
there appears to
put-
Be
be-
a recommendation?
It could very well be a part of your,
Mhm.
a part of the review.
Could they put it on the updike frontage?
it would require a variance.
But we have the fire road right there.
On the other side of the fire road?
That would be then between the sidewalk and, That would be a,
yeah, I mean, is it possible?
We haven't even, honestly, we never even looked at that. I mean, we wanted to hide it, right, from view from Updike was part of the initial plan when we went through it with the civil engineer. So I don't even know if that location was considered. I'd have to measure, I don't know.
Can I ask Andrea, or?
Sure.
What's it was mentioned at the beginning, there was, this is a change from the site plan that the Board of Trustees reviewed, but the changes are not significant enough to go back to the Board of Trustees.
Generally, if
That's
it's
pretty
a.
significant to me. I mean,
Okay.
How do you draw that
Understood.
line?
Generally, if it doesn't change the use, site circulation would be something that would require probably a change. Access to a site would be significant change. Building dimensions, height. Trying to think what else would be kind of a significant enough of a change
So like
to
adding a
bring
third
back.
floor or
But
doing a
generally,
top
these are
floor
design,
patio.
yeah.
Yes.
These are generally design changes, in
Okay.
essence. And since we generally bring ground-mounted mechanicals before the design review board as it relates to commercial, the design review board has been an acceptable stopping point for these type of changes. But if it was more significant, like I said, in terms of really impacting the site and really changing the use and approval as it was, then that would necessitate another review by the board.
So the building dimensions haven't changed from the original approval?
Not that I'm aware of. As a matter of fact, their building permit was reviewed and approved, and at that time, before a foundation is laid, there's verification that that foundation complies with the approved site plan. So that's part of our review.
There might be like an inset or something just a little bit different, but the main footprint is all the same, as you can see. They're going to match right up.
Oh, I see. This is
Yes,
current, or this is the current one?
this is current.
Oh, there were a few little insets that
Yeah,
are no
they're
longer
just a little
there.
Yep,
Teeny, yeah. Mm.
yep.
Thank you.
And they did come back previously, I think maybe 2 years ago, to talk about some changes to the interior of the courtyard, which was approved by the design review board. And again, at that time, it was interior only. There was no impact to the use or anything adjacent. It was solely for the interior, so that was,
Recall that.
that was approved. It was a little bit of a different configuration.
If you have, did you give them this? The original plan does actually have AC units outside of the, I mean, you can see these little spots, that's what those were all for, was for AC units. So they didn't come just from the interior courtyard out there. I think actually we have fewer out there than.
there was a few, not as many. The
Right.
reason why we have them there, if you look on the plans, those AC units are right outside the mechanical rooms. So if you know that line sets work much better, more efficient, if the AC units are closer to the furnace rooms. And that's why we have them like that. And why we have them so much together.
And as I'm seeing it, the generators on the across the road from the fire road, and right across from that where the AC units are.
Right here, Martin, I'm pointing on the screen. This is the generator area.
Yep, and then right across the street is the AC units. And those AC units don't need any approvals, or, those are
Correct.
okay, right?
Correct.
Just the ones
Because
on the
they're
other
immediately
side of the
adjacent to the building. They'll be screened with materials to match the building, so that's acceptable.
It's the one on Updike Road that needs approval.
Because it's in a front yard, correct.
But there were originally units shown along Updike as well.
I guess I'd have to double check our records and see if that ever got approval by the zoning board of appeals. I'm not aware that they ever were.
I've never seen anything on that, but,
So-
yeah, but they are on the plans, as you said, yeah.
So what, being new to this board, what is the procedure? Do we approve some but not all? Is it all or
We
nothing?
can, in fact, everybody make a motion.
Okay.
I may need assistance because I don't have all the considerations in front of me. However, I'm satisfied with the revisions as presented, for all revisions as presented, except for the ground-mounted mechanicals. And I would suggest that the developer contractor look at alternatives to the placement. Some of those, as suggested here, may include looking at taking a parking space, if it requires, I don't know if it's going to require a ZBA application or not, but there certainly are creative ways, I think, that can be considered, and I'd strongly suggest that you look at those, because that's, my motion is that that part of it not be approved.
When you refer to ground-mounted mechanicals, are you specific to the transformer and generator, and you're okay with the ACs and forwarding those ACs to the
Correct.
zoning board?
Yes.
The
And we wouldn't be
generator-
taking this to the zoning board until there's a determination
Yes.
made about the other mechanicals, so
Yes.
it's kind of in a holding pattern anyways, but I just want to clarify that
Yes.
the AC units, okay,
The
thank you.
generator was in the original approval. Oh, no, I'm sorry,
No.
the
I do
transformer.
have one spot now that we're,
That could
Boy.
work without losing parking space?
well, there's no windows right there.
I think at this time, you need to provide us with a revision that the
Yep.
board can act upon based on what you've heard today. That's, I don't want to
Is it
overspeak
possible
over
to show
anyone,
the spot
but
and get feedback? Because we'd hate to go, like,
Well,
make the change,
there's
go to
two
the board
spots,
and.
But actually, no, one, because there's FDCs right there now. So that's the fire department hookup. So, let me just.
you can press that top button.
As I'm looking here,
Right there, is
I
that,
was thinking
You
here,
shaky.
but that's the FDC, because that's over there, but that would get us in trouble with the fire department. I have windows here and here, but I don't have windows right there.
Well, part of my motion, I agree with Andrea. It's certainly important to bring a plan back to the design review board, to the building department, regarding what proposal you would have for the transformer / generator, so a determination could be made on those.
yeah, and we don't even know for sure if that would work. We have a door there.
Right.
But that's kind of us spitballing. Is
Better,
that,
I mean,
do you like that more than the current proposal? That spot?
'Cause I still have to get to the engineers and everything else.
Yeah, I think that would be certainly seen more favorably.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion by trustee Barnett to
Can
approve.
I ask a clarification about the motion?
Yes, sure.
Does this mean that it goes to the ZBA without, or it needs to come back here?
I would say that it's going to come back here before it goes to the zoning board, because both, I mean, it sounds more and more that that generator is not going to be immediately adjacent to the building, wherever it's located. That's going to necessitate a variance. So they're not going to be able to proceed until they come back here. I probably said that a little bit backwards, but bottom line is, the answer is yes. They need to come back with a revised plan.
Okay, support the motion.
Okay, so there's a motion and support to approve all items except the generator. Is that correct?
Transformer.
Generator transformer, okay? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, 3-0.
Yep.
Thank you guys for your understanding, and we'll be happy to work with you moving forward.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure we're exploring all the options.
Can I still ask a question?
I know
I think you're done with the board. You can ask me questions. Do you think there's an opportunity, maybe, and I'm just throwing it out there, to
Oh, okay.
relocate, I mean, shift over the fire lane or allow for more?
Okay, moving on to general business. Do we have any recent DRB approvals that need to be reviewed? Okay. Our next meeting will be 2 weeks from
Shift
today,
the road
Wednesday,
over a little bit.
October 4th, 2023, at our usual 2 o'clock. If there's any other business or
building,
motions, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Fire aisle and then landscaping?
It's Martin's department.
Okay, and do we have support?
Shift it.
Okay,
Shift
we
the
have a
fire
motion and
lane over
support.
a
All
little
those in
bit.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next to the building.
All those opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned.
Isn't it just paver?